4 debts you must settle before it's too late. The spring arrives, then waves goodbye. We leave our childhood for the passing eye. Everyone experiences that youthful prime, but with the flow of years, it fades with time. A person's life is just like a flower bright, most beautiful when first it sees the light. Its colors fresh, its perfumes sweet and true, but when it wilts, its scent is lost from view. Why regret the evening of your life? Keep singing songs, rise above all strife. Stay important, stay meaningful and deep, live well for yourself, and the promises you keep. Dear viewers, stepping into your 60s means we are approaching the end of the cycle of birth, aging, sickness, and death. Even if you don't wish it, the time left on this earth is getting shorter. While some debts can be repaid, there are some debts you may not have the time or energy to settle or correct after age 60. There are 4 debts you absolutely must settle. Let's listen and reflect, shall we? The first debt is the debt of money. Hospitalized for his illness, Mr. Wah felt his heart burning because he was broke. He had used up all his retirement savings, lending it to his friend and giving it to his children to build a house. Now that he needed it, he kept asking for it but couldn't get it back. He recounted with sadness that he and his friend were like brothers and former colleagues, quite close. Before he retired, his friend needed to build a house for his son and asked to borrow money. Mr. Wah had over $15,000 deposited in the bank and wasn't using it immediately, so he lent it without hesitation or a contract. His friend promised, "I'll pay you back in a few months." But he was retired now, and they still hadn't paid him back. He also added that even a year after the deadline, he got sick and was hospitalized. When he called to ask for the money, his friend kept putting it off, saying he didn't have it, and didn't even reply to texts. A week later, the friend brought $1,000, but with a blaming attitude. "I'm sick and don't even have money for my own checkups, and you keep rushing me for money." On a few other occasions, when he needed money to repair his house or pay for the family shrine in his hometown, Mr. Wah called, but his friend wouldn't answer. When his children went to the friend's house, the couple acted very annoyed. On a later visit, the friend brought $1,000 and said, "This is all we could scrape together." Demanding his own money felt like begging. The deep sadness and humiliation in Mr. Wah's eyes said it all. Dear viewers, older people value emotion, so they never refuse to help in difficult times. However, money is always a sensitive issue. Only those who have achieved enlightenment and no longer care about money can keep a peaceful mind. Even with the closest relatives, if there is a misunderstanding about money that affects mutual interests, the relationship can easily fracture. The closer you are, even blood relatives, the clearer and fairer you must be about borrowing money. Don't be afraid of offending people. Indeed, sometimes financial clarity is difficult, but you must define whether it is a gift or a loan. If it's a voluntary gift, there's no need to repay. If it's a loan, it must be repaid. That is how you maintain a lasting relationship. If you don't have a lot of money, pay back small amounts gradually. Don't be deceitful, lie, or ignore the debt. Don't let meaningless money destroy a precious relationship and a deep bond. What is the hardest thing in the world to do? It is borrowing and lending. Everyone will have to borrow at least once in their life. Therefore, The person who lends you money during hard times is your benefactor. What they lend you is not just money, but trust, faith, encouragement, and an investment in your future. You should remember that the person who lends you money in your time of need is not doing it because they are rich, but because they want to help you when you are in trouble. But many people truly do not respect trust when borrowing. People often borrow from siblings or relatives. However, because they are family, they neglect financial clarity. This has caused many people to lose their familial affection. Here is a story. My cousin and I often met when we were little. But after growing up and going to school, we worked in different places, so we hadn't seen each other for years. By chance, I met him again at a recent relative's death anniversary in my hometown. I learned that he had become a university lecturer at a major provincial university. I was happy to have a university lecturer as a cousin. He kept asking about my job. We chatted happily since we hadn't met in a long time, and we got along well as we shared many views. He asked me about my current job. I honestly replied that compared to previous years, my current job was quite good, and my income was very stable. He nodded and was delighted, then asked for my phone number to stay in touch. After that day, I returned to the city, and he went back to the province to continue working. 2 days later, while I was working, I received a message from him. He confided that he was pursuing a business project but lacked capital. He was waiting for the bank loan, which was still in procedure and uncertain when the money would arrive, but he needed money urgently. He asked me to lend him $2,000, promising to pay it back in a month. I thought simply that he was my cousin. Although we hadn't met for a long time, he was the son of my respected uncle, so he was family. Without much deliberation, I asked him to text me his bank account number so I could transfer the money immediately. However, more than a month after I transferred the money, he remained silent, not texting at all. Even if he had financial difficulties and couldn't pay on time, he should have at least messaged me. Feeling uneasy, I proactively texted him to ask about the money. I got a reply half a day later. He said he was waiting for a client to pay him, so it would take a bit longer. "I don't have the money for you right now, please understand," he said. Another month passed, and he still showed no sign of payment, so I texted him again. Unexpectedly, he must have been in a bad mood, as he immediately became angry and quite annoyed. "Stop texting me demanding money. I'm driven crazy with work right now. What is $1,000 to you anyway?" I was speechless, as if slapped by cold water. Clearly, he never offered to postpone the debt, and I only dared to ask about the money twice. Even if I had a lot of money, it didn't mean I would easily lend $1,000 to just anyone. If he wasn't the son of the uncle I deeply respected, I probably wouldn't have transferred the money immediately without a second thought. I was bewildered, failing to recognize the man who was supposed to be a respectable university lecturer. If there was a question between money and family ties, what would we choose? I choose family ties, because money lost can be earned back, but a lost family relationship cannot be mended as before. Family is that important. Why lose it just for money? Why is it easier to borrow from a relative than from an outsider? The reason is the trust the lender places in the borrower. They think, they're family. They wouldn't just take the money and run. Or, in my case, lending to my cousin, I thought, he's educated and my cousin. If I don't trust him, who can I trust? Some people even think before lending, I might just give the money away if necessary. their family, after all. Nevertheless, when dealing with money, whether the lender cares is up to them, but the borrower must be responsible for their words. That is the minimum courtesy in a relationship. In my case, I was very generous. My relatives loved gathering to eat because I usually paid. My job was stable, and my income was decent, so I always paid for family gatherings. My wife never objected, but there was one time that caused discord between my wife and me. My cousin borrowed money from me several times, $200 to $500 each time. He promised to pay it back the following month but never mentioned it again. I don't like demanding money from others, let alone family members. When my wife found out, she was very upset and had a bad view of him. She taught me the saying, "Clear money makes for clear love." This means the closer you are, the clearer you must be about money, otherwise, troubles, conflicts, and misunderstandings are bound to arise. I have a friend who sadly told me about relatives borrowing money. Currently, his brother and his wife are both jobless, so they are struggling financially. When asking to borrow, his brother said he would sort things out after the Lunar New Year and pay back the money. But my friend didn't care much about the exact repayment date and never mentioned the money his brother owed him. Towards the end of this year, my friend needed a large sum of money. He remembered his brother still hadn't paid back the debt after a whole year and hadn't specified when he would. So, he gently texted, "If things are stable for you now, could you pay back a little of the debt? Because I need the money too." His brother was silent for a while, then told my friend to come to his house for the money, as his wife handled all the finances. When my friend went over, his sister-in-law gave him the money but had a very unpleasant, disgruntled look on her face. Afterward, rumors spread that she was badmouthing him to relatives, saying he had plenty of money but still demanded payment from his brother. My friend was extremely depressed and confided, "Shouldn't I have the right to demand the money I lent out? They clearly said they were borrowing, not asking for a gift. So why are they now complaining as if I'm the one at fault? The money everyone earns comes from their hard work and intelligence. A sum of money, no matter how small or large, is important. They are not our parents to give us everything without expecting anything in return. It's best that even among siblings and relatives, finances remain clear. A loan must be repaid. If you can't pay on time, you should proactively contact and explain the reason first. Because if trust and reputation are diminished, the other person's heart will hold contempt instead of respect. In my friend's case, it's normal for him to take back the money from his brother's family because he needed it. There's nothing to criticize. Don't speak softly when borrowing, but make the lender beg, and speak softly when repaying. I think that when someone lends you money with a respectful and enthusiastic attitude, when we pay it back, we should sincerely express our gratitude more. Only then can a family relationship truly be warm and lasting. The Buddhist law of karma dictates that not repaying a debt plants the seed of poverty and destitution and will lead to karmic retribution. If soon, the retribution is in this life. If late, it will be in the next lives. Humans who live by the normal standard know what is borrowed must be repaid. In hard times, if someone steps forward to help, trusts, and lends you money, what you owe them is not just material wealth but also gratitude and kindness. However, many people are neither grateful to their benefactors nor willing to repay the loan. Some default, some pay back incompletely, and others complain and blame. Not repaying a debt plants the seed of poverty and destitution for themselves, leading to a life of hardship. Here are the reasons why people should not borrow money and not repay it. The Buddhist law of karma. A person who borrows money and doesn't want to pay it back is selfish and deceitful, not worthy of further association. By befriending such people, you will inevitably bring trouble upon yourself. Some people try hard to borrow money but never want to repay, thinking it won't harm them. They forget that in life, what is borrowed must be repaid, and the law of karma spares no one. Their failure to repay debts causes future misfortunes and poverty. Buddhist law clearly states that not repaying a debt plants the seed of poverty and destitution and will result in karmic retribution. If soon, the retribution is in this life; if late, it will be in the next lives. There is a saying, "Why is one a cow or a horse in this life?" Because they did not repay a debt in the previous life. That is the karmic retribution for not repaying a debt. It is best for a person to rely on their own strength, face difficulties and challenges independently, and limit seeking help from others. If you must borrow money from someone, remember to maintain your integrity, pay back on time, and repay the full amount. Only then can you avoid karmic retribution and have a smooth life. Losing the trust of others. Regarding money, there is a meaningful folk saying, "Clear money, clear love." This means that people in society should be clear about money, no matter how much they love or care for each other. Money does not fall from the sky. It is earned through labor, sweat, and tears. If a relationship is only built on exploiting each other's money, that relationship will not last and will soon fracture. A moral person only borrows money out of necessity, not from everyone, and doesn't refuse to repay. A good person feels extremely guilty, unable to eat or sleep peacefully, when they cannot repay a debt. A person lacking morality feels no such thing. As long as they can borrow the money, they are happy and don't care when they will repay. The lender is often struggling, while the borrower lives comfortably with that money, eating well, sleeping well, and dressing well. This type of person delays repayment, regardless of how angry or heartbroken their benefactor is. The person who lends you money is your benefactor. Therefore, do not disappoint their kindness. Do not lose the trust of others. If you are the type who borrows money and doesn't repay, people will be fooled once and never again. Gradually, you will lose all your friendships, live in isolation, and be looked down upon. Suffering a bad reputation for life. Not repaying a debt not only brings the retribution of karma but also causes people to despise, resent, and criticize you. Every time you go out, you will face accusations of being a debtor who doesn't pay. Your life will thus be constantly tormented and miserable, bearing a bad reputation that can never be washed away in this lifetime. No one wants to associate with you, no one helps you, and ultimately, you lose your opportunities for success. If you borrow money from relatives or friends, they may be kind enough not to demand repayment when you hide. But if it is a societal debt, it will affect your loved ones. A person who repays a loan on time is a person of integrity, capable of building a great career. If you owe a debt, you must repay it. Don't think you can run away from it, because sooner or later, you will pay the price for your actions. Repaying a debt on time is also a way of cultivating virtue and accumulating blessings for yourself and your descendants. Money cannot buy happiness, but it is important in life. Humans cannot sustain life without money to buy basic necessities like food and water. Everyone likes money, but people's pursuit of money differs. Money can help see through people's hearts, test human nature, and test friendships. A person's reaction when facing money is the most truthful. Their attitude towards money is hard to conceal. It is often said that in human relationships, money is a double-edged sword. No matter how deep and solid a relationship is, conflicts over money can cause emotional distance. Money is not just money. It also holds trust and human affection. Cherish those who are fair, clear, and dare to discuss money with you, as they are the ones who value you more than money. Money is the standard for judging loyalty. If you want to see a person's character, look at their attitude when borrowing and repaying money. From that, you can tell whether this person is trustworthy enough to befriend. Seeing through people's hearts when borrowing money. Here's a shared story. I have a close friend. He's sociable and enthusiastic with friends, but his only fault is that he borrows money and doesn't pay it back. Every time I reminded him to pay, he found every reason to delay, such as having just invested in a business, his phone breaking, or his father being hospitalized and needing money for expenses. At one point, I texted him for several days, and he didn't reply. Then he excused himself by saying he was sick and hospitalized. The loan amount wasn't large, but it was exhausting to keep demanding it. We got along well and had fun together. Was it worth ending the friendship over a few $100s? There is another very meaningful story I happened to read. A successful young man became a big boss with many employees. Friends and relatives constantly came to him to borrow money. He was naturally generous and lent whenever asked. Over the years, he lent tens of thousands of dollars but never received a single cent back. When his business ran into difficulties and he needed money to pay salaries, he had to demand repayment. However, he was unexpectedly met with more frustration, as the borrowers criticized him for being petty and calculating. When people lend money, what they lend is money, but what they see is the human heart. Those who borrow and don't repay take your kindness for granted, as something they are entitled to. No matter how much you lend them, they never appreciate it. When you need money and demand it, or when you need their help, you might not receive a response. This is a crude truth, but it must awaken people to use their kindness wisely and on the right people. People who borrow money and don't repay are simply people who exploit others. You should avoid these people as soon as possible to prevent harm. Seeing through character when repaying money. The act of repaying a debt, which seems like a mere obligation, helps reveal a person's character. A person with good character will repay on time. One with poor character will always find ways to delay and drag it out. There is a story. A young man's father hit someone while driving and had to pay $5,000 in compensation. For an average family, this was a significant amount. So, he ran around borrowing money. A good friend, upon learning the situation, lent him $2,000. Later, the father lost the ability to work, and the economic burden fell heavily on the son. A few months later, he heard that the friend who lent him money was seriously ill and urgently needed money for treatment. The young man worked tirelessly to pay off the debt. Though he didn't have much extra money himself, he discussed it with his parents and decided to mortgage the house to pay the friend back and lend the friend a little extra in case of emergencies. The friend, upon regaining consciousness, said, "I dared to lend him money because I trusted his character. No one knew if I would wake up at that time. If he hadn't shown up, No one would have known I ever lent him money. Later, when the friend recovered, he immediately repaid the young man the money that the young man lent to him. Both understood that no affection is a given. True loyalty is the moment you step forward when another person needs you. In today's society, the person who can trust and lend you money is your life's benefactor. Sometimes when you lend money, people are initially grateful, but after a while, some forget and become numb, viewing the borrowed money as their own, trying to claim it. This not only causes them to lose the trust of others but also diminishes their own character. People often say, borrowing money can hurt feelings, but the moment of repayment can hurt feelings even more. Relationships have ended after someone lent money and waited for the borrower to proactively repay. Therefore, always be grateful to the person who helped you in hard times and proactively pay back on time. Such a person definitely has good character. The reasons why you should cherish people who lend you money. A person willing to lend you money wants to help you overcome difficulties. They may not be richer than you, but they still find a way to help because they value you and trust the purpose of your use. They view what they lend as not just money but trust and integrity, like betting on a chess game. The amount they lend you is also a hope that your financial future will be more stable. They may not need you to do anything for them, nor do they need you to pay interest or be forever indebted. Simply put, they consider you their friend. The second debt is the debt of responsibility. Each of us plays a different role in the drama of life. In the role of a child, you have the responsibility to honor and care for your grandparents and parents, the ones who gave birth to you and raised you. This debt of responsibility that a child owes to their parents is something you must repay and absolutely must not shrug off. In the role of a parent, your responsibility is to nurture, educate, and guide the mindset of your children, ensuring they grow up in a good environment and receive a civilized education. As spouses, you have the responsibility to be faithful and respectful to each other, overcoming life's difficulties together. There is a saying, it takes 1,000 years of cultivation to have the fate of becoming husband and wife. Therefore, do not debt your spouse with a lack of sincerity and tolerance. Towards your siblings in the family, the debt you must remember is to live responsibly, showing love, support, and help. Many parents earn money hoping their children will have a good, prosperous life later. However, this view is completely wrong. I have a close friend. One time, while drunk, he told me, "Do you believe it or not? I have deposited money in the bank, enough for my grandchildren to never spend it all." I replied, "I believe you, but the elders often say that grandchildren have their own luck and blessings. You don't need to save up so much wealth for them." Hearing me say that, he laughed loudly and said, "What do you call blessings?" It took me half my life to escape poverty. If I don't leave wealth for my grandchildren, I fear they will be poor. I am leaving money for my grandchildren so they don't have to live like I did in this life. My friend's words were sincere. I see many people around us who share the same thought. If they earn $10, they set aside $5 for their children and grandchildren. We always think that saving money for our descendants can ensure a better life for them later on. However, a famous quote by Lin Zexu, a famous official during the Qing dynasty, awakened me. If your children are better than you, why do they need money? A wise and wealthy person will naturally lose their ambition. If your children are not as capable as you, then why leave them money? A foolish and wealthy person will only become more foolish. This quote is quite blunt but deeply profound and correct. If your children and grandchildren are significantly better than you, there is no need to leave them wealth. If they are talented and virtuous, leaving them too much wealth will only deplete their motivation to strive. And if your children and grandchildren are merely ordinary, you still don't need to save up wealth for them. If they are already foolish, leaving them a lot of money will only make them more foolish. Few people in modern society fully grasp this lesson from Lin Zexu. There is a famous law in psychology called the irrelevant law, or the it's not worth it law. This means that a task not worth doing is also not worth doing well. Think about it. Once you already have a mountain of gold, why sweat every day panning for more? However, if you approach learning and working with this irrelevant mindset, life can become somewhat monotonous. Foreign billionaires may dedicate most of their life's fortunes to charity. However, not all of us understand the reason why they do this. For example, billionaire Warren Buffett dedicated 99% of his fortune to charity. My colleague once asked, "Doesn't his family resent him for that?" I thought my colleague certainly hadn't heard the story between Buffett and his youngest son, Peter Buffett. One day before moving to Newark, Peter Buffett came to his father to borrow money. It was the first and only time he borrowed money from his father, and he was refused. Peter was furious, but later went to the bank to take out a loan. Peter then realized that during the time he was repaying the bank, he learned many things in life and work. Looking back later, he realized his father's perspective was completely correct. As parents, if you truly love your children, you should be a little strict when it comes to finances. Because money is a double-edged sword, it can hurt your child. Parents are the ones who bring their children into this world, so they must place great importance on their children's growth and maturity. You need to foster strength in them, and parents should remember to let their children know that life involves sweat and tears, and sometimes even bleeding, enduring the sun and rain without a parent or relative sheltering them with an umbrella. Let them know that striving on their own is the best and most glorious path. Let your children know that they themselves must forge the golden spoons to enjoy the bowl of life's soup with its many attractive flavors. The third debt, the debt of kindness. If you are close friends, it is best not to be involved in a debt of favor, kindness. It's easy to borrow, hard to repay. Don't rely on or cling to others. Don't think that their help is a given. And certainly don't treat it as their obligation or duty. If someone helps us once, we must return that favor, perhaps even twice or more. In this life, there are debts of gratitude that we may never fully repay, even with a lifetime of dedication. That is the gift of birth and upbringing from our parents. If we help others, we should not expect or hope that they will repay us. In truth, whether this debt of favor is repaid depends on a person's conscience. A good person pays back what they borrow. A calculating person forgets what they borrow. Remember that if you live a good life, heaven will not abandon you. Accumulating virtue in youth leads to peace in old age. Help others with a calm and pure heart. Nevertheless, there are debts of gratitude in this world that we may never fully repay, even with a lifetime of dedication. That is the gift of birth and upbringing from our parents, the ones who cared for us and raised us to be who we are. Filial impiety is the greatest sin in a person's life. Therefore, be dutiful and care for your parents. Nothing in the world compares to a parent's love for their children. Heaven will surely grant blessings to those who are dutiful to their mother and father. When we grow up, get married, have children, and become parents, we fully understand the hardships and worries of our mothers and fathers. As the years pass amidst the hustle and bustle of life, children suddenly realize that their parents are getting old, their health is declining, and they understand how immense the debt of gratitude for their upbringing is. Upon seeing the IOU for $50,000 debt of kindness, the eldest son, Liu Kang, immediately turned pale and walked out. Mr. Ju, seeing his eldest son's attitude, gently closed his eyes. Mr. Ju was 68 years old. Both his elder and younger sons settled in the city, but he insisted on living alone in the old house in the countryside. His second son often wanted to bring him to live with them, but he refused. Though his leg was disabled, Mr. Ju still diligently worked in the fields every day. People in the village said he was an honorable and kind man, but his life was full of misfortunes. His wife died early, and he raised his two sons alone, only to live by himself in the old house in the end. Winter in the north was very cold, and his health severely declined. Mr. Ju became seriously ill and couldn't get up. Sensing he didn't have much time left, he called his two sons home. His sons rushed back upon hearing the news of his severe illness. Mr. Ju was dying. The eldest son, Liu Kang, sat on the worn sofa, feeling wronged, and asked if his father left any inheritance. However, after his father's words, he was stunned. "Your father was useless in this life. I want to see your mother soon, but there's one thing left undone in my heart," Mr. Ju said, coughing softly. The second son, Liu Pham, sat beside his father, sobbing. "Father, what is left unfinished? Just tell me. If I can do it, I will certainly fulfill your life's wish. I worked hard all my life, but I don't have a penny saved before I die. I am ashamed of you children. Under the pillow is an IOU from 5 years ago. I borrowed money from a friend because I wanted to buy a house for Kang. After I pass away, you must repay that debt for your father," Mr. Ju said, reaching for the IOU under his pillow. But Liu Pham stopped him. 4 years ago, Liu Pham got married and lived at his wife's house. Therefore, he thought the entire inheritance did not belong to him. It was reasonable for his father to give his older brother money to buy a house, and he did not mind. Liu Pham reached under the pillow, pulled out a crumpled piece of paper, and saw that it was just a copy of the IOU. Seeing the IOU for $50,000, the eldest son, Liu Kang, turned pale and walked out the door. Mr. Ju, seeing his eldest son's attitude, gently closed his eyes and turned to Liu Pham. "I was incapable, which is why you had to live with your in-laws. Aren't you angry with your father?" Liu Pham shook his head, tears streaming down his face. He held his father's hand and said, "Father, please don't blame yourself. I am living very well now. It's cold in the winter. Please come and live with me." Mr. Ju tried to stroke his son's face, but his hand fell before it reached him. "Pham, your father knows you are a dutiful son. I can't go anywhere now. The IOU is to Uncle Trong, and his address and phone number are on it. If you can, please repay this debt for your father." Mr. Ju passed away without leaving any assets. Instead, he left a debt of $50,000. The eldest son, Kang, walked back into the room, looked at his sobbing brother mourning their father, and frowned. "I can't afford to pay this amount. I'm already struggling with my children's tuition fees." Liu Pham turned to his brother, said nothing, and put the IOU in his pocket. This was his father's only wish, so he would try to fulfill it. He also wanted to repay the money for his father. After handling his father's funeral, Lu Pham took out all his savings, but it was only over $5,000. Nevertheless, he took the money and went to the creditor to repay the debt. Following the address on the note, he found the place, but the creditor, Mr. Trong, stunned him. Mr. Trong sighed upon hearing of Mr. Jiu's death and tore the IOU in half. Lu Pham was surprised and asked why. "The captain is gone, just like that, without even calling me so I could see him one last time, so we could send him off," Mr. Trong said, choking up. Lu Pham seemed to understand a little. His father used to be a soldier, a captain. Mr. Trong must have been his father's comrade. Witnessing Mr. Trong's distress over his father's death, Lu Pham couldn't hold back his tears. Mr. Trong continued, "Son, your father was a man of loyalty and honor. That year, I made a mistake in training. If your father hadn't saved me at that crucial moment, I wouldn't be alive today. Your father was also disabled because he saved me." Hearing Mr. Trong's words, Lu Pham felt even more respect for his father. He didn't know his father had gone through such an experience, because his father had never told him. Finally, Mr. Trong revealed the secret of the IOU. In fact, Mr. Jiu did not owe money. That year, Mr. Trong was struggling with his business, and Mr. Jiu helped him with his savings. Later, when the company prospered, Mr. Trong decided to repay Mr. Jiu, but Mr. Jiu refused to accept. Eventually, the money became shares in the company. A few years ago, the two men agreed that after one of them died, the person who brought the IOU to pay the money would be given the company's shares. Understanding the whole story, Lu Pham felt how thoughtful his father was. Then, Mr. Trong called his son to liquidate the company's shares, which were worth $250,000. On his way home, Lu Pham was both happy and ashamed. He was happy because his father had given him such a large fortune before he left. He was ashamed because he hadn't cared more for his father over the years. He only regretted that his father was gone, and he no longer had the opportunity to be dutiful. Thinking of this, Lu Pham couldn't stop crying. The story leaves a profound lesson for children on repaying their parents. There is a saying, "Of 100 virtues, filial piety is the first." Yet, how many children in daily life fulfill their duties and responsibilities toward their parents? As a child, don't wait until your parents pass away to regret it. While your parents are still healthy, cherish the people in front of you every moment. No favor on earth can compare to the nurture of a mother and father. No love in this world is greater than the love between parents and children. Parents always love and sacrifice themselves for their children, giving them everything good. Even if parents have to struggle and suffer, they want their children to have the best possible conditions, not inferior to their peers. In response to the boundless gratitude owed to our parents, as children, let's stop and think. What have we done for them? Sometimes children carelessly think that their parents are not old because they are still healthy. When we grow up and can support ourselves, we get caught up in work and forget to repay our parents' kindness. Sooner or later, you will regret it. Parents do not need us to repay them with money. They simply need our love and attention. It could be just a simple word, a question about their health. Yet, how many children have managed to do these things? When you become a parent and raise children, you will understand how much your parents sacrificed and nurtured you. Think about how long you spend talking with your parents. How long has it been since you shared a family meal together? As the years pass, everything can change, but a parent's love remains eternal. Life is impermanent, lasting only for a blink, and the day will come when our parents leave us. Therefore, while our parents are still with us, show your filial devotion and repay the days they raised us. When parents get older, life becomes more inconvenient. Help them put on clothes, put a blanket over them, wash their feet, or take them for a walk. Many children mistakenly believe that earning a lot of money will ensure their parents a comfortable and happy old age. What parents need from their children is not high-end material things. What parents need is a sense of security and spiritual support. Our lives are filled with worries, big and small. While a day only has 24 hours, we sometimes feel that everything has taken up all our time. Remember that parents always cherish every moment they spend with you. For them, that is the greatest happiness. Try this calculation. If your parents live for another 30 years, you visit them twice a year, 7 days each time. Subtracting time for eating, sleeping, and entertainment, you will find that you can only spend 72 hours a year with your parents. Just over 2,000 hours in 30 years, which is about 3 months. While your parents are still there, you have a place to return to. Once your parents are gone, there is only a path home. Do not let the day come when your parents are gone. The path home remains, the house remains, but the most important thing you need, the image of your parents, is only in your memory. Filial piety is the fundamental basis of a person's morality. A person who is not dutiful to their own parents is trivial, no matter how good they are in other areas. Providing parents with material comforts may not be difficult, but being dutiful to parents throughout one's life is not simple at all. I accidentally read a post by a young man on social media asking, "If I find my parents too annoying, should I cut off ties with them?" According to the post, his family was not wealthy. He had to spend a large amount of money on his parents' elderly care and medical checkups. He felt that caring for his parents in this way would hinder his career path. His future with a wife and children would certainly face many inconveniences. At the end of the post, the young man expressed his opinion that he did not want to waste money caring for his parents. Of course, the comments below the post were a series of criticisms. One sentence, in particular, truly impressed me. "A good girl might accept a poor but ambitious guy, but most will not accept a person who cuts off ties with his parents. People who have never treated him badly." To see a person's true morality, look at how they treat their parents. If a person is cold-hearted and ungrateful to their own parents, they are unlikely to pass any moral test. Since childhood, I have been taught that, of 100 virtues, filial piety is the first, meaning being dutiful and respectful to one's parents is the most basic moral quality. When we were young, we grew up in our parents' arms. Then we went to school and worked far away from home and our parents. However, the older we get, the further we go, and the more we are exposed to social realities, the more we crave the warmth and security that family brings. Laozi said, "No matter how old a person is, even 80 or 90, they are still a child when their parents are alive." Even though the outside world is complicated, and we have to take on many responsibilities and act like adults, never complaining about difficulties, when we return to our parents' arms, cherished and protected, We can reveal our weaknesses, express our true feelings, and share our troubles. Parents are always there, forgiving and never criticizing us. Truly, in times of exhaustion, besides our parents, no one else welcomes us back with all their heart. Parents may not be perfect, but they always love us boundlessly. Forgiving our parents' imperfections is a good quality in a child. I was very impressed by a detail in the movie Reply 1988. Doc's son felt that her parents favored her sister and brother and ignored her, so she resented her parents for a long time. What she saw was that when there were 2 chicken drumsticks, her mother gave one to her sister and one to her brother. What she did not see was that her mother pushed her father's hand away when he wanted to take the chicken wing, because she wanted to save the chicken wing for her. Parents who play favorites are imperfect parents, perhaps even unworthy of the title. But even if we say our parents are not good, they always love us much more than they love themselves. If our parents are imperfect, we are not perfect children either. We are all clumsily fumbling for ways to harmonize and learn how to love each other. If that's the case, what's more important is learning to understand and resolve misunderstandings with each other. Our parents may have generational differences, being conservative, strict, or having outdated ideas that don't keep up with the times, but they only want the best for their children. We cannot disregard their love for us because of these shortcomings. Be dutiful to your parents. Don't wait until it is too late. A reporter for the Italian magazine Opportunity once interviewed Bill Gates on a plane. When asked what could not wait, Bill Gates' answer surprised everyone. The thing that cannot wait in this world is filial devotion to parents. Another story of a young girl truly makes us reflect. She went through the most terrible months of her life when she lost both her parents simultaneously. When her parents were alive, she still had a place to return to. But back then, the girl did not care about that place because her boyfriend gave her more joy, helping her enjoy life with the newest feelings. She got tired of going home and tired of answering her parents' calls asking if she was coming back. Then, when she finally wanted to go home and hug her parents, there was only a cold, green grave. The beautiful fruit baskets or flower arrangements are just formalities now. Her parents can never enjoy or see these things anymore. When we grow up, it is also the time when our parents get older. I believe that many children share this psychological feeling. The saddest thing in this life is realizing what you had only after you lost it. While you are young and your parents are still around, love and be more patient with them. Don't let late tears be the way you realize what important thing you have lost. Don't let the day come when your parents are gone. The path home might remain, the house might remain, but the most important thing you need, the image of your parents, is only in your memory. The 4th debt, the debt of happy time. True happiness in this life is not about having a lot of money, luxury houses, fancy cars, or eating gourmet meals every day. Our loved ones never demand that we achieve massive success or become some big shot. They simply need every family member to support and love each other, staying happy and healthy. Understanding this, I hope you will cherish every precious second and minute spent with your loved ones to care for and love them. Don't wait until your loved ones are gone to feel regret and remorse. There are only 24 hours in a day. Don't waste too much time on pointless things. Spending hours on a smartphone, watching TV, or sitting at the computer purely for entertainment that serves no purpose for your studies or work is a bad habit you need to change. Don't drown yourself in the virtual world. Spend more time with family, friends, and on activities that are more meaningful. Modern life, with its busyness and worries about putting food on the table, has encroached upon the precious moments of reunion with loved ones. People frantically chase the career treadmill, only to suddenly realize one day that the time they had to be with and care for their parents and relatives was too short. By then, their regret and remorse are too late. Please come and visit your mother. This sentence awakens countless children to the importance of filial piety. The mother's plea to her son is a profound warning to many who are so caught up in pursuing their careers that they forget their parents are getting older and will eventually leave them. In one family, the father passed away, leaving behind a wife and son. The son, who had his own family, decided to place his mother in a nursing home for care. Because his work was very busy, he only occasionally managed to make time to visit his mother. Every time he visited, he was rushed, just handing her some things and quickly leaving for work. The mother, alone in the nursing home, looked forward to her son's visits, but in the end, the two of them hardly had time to talk. The old mother was deeply sad, missing her son and grandchildren. But knowing her son was busy, she didn't dare ask him to bring his wife and children along. She told herself, "They must always be busy with work. I'm an old person who can't help with anything, so I shouldn't bother them." Until one day, the mother's health began to fail. The nursing home called the son to inform him. On the other end of the phone was the mother's weak voice. "Please come and visit your mother." Rushing to the nursing home, the son saw that his mother's condition was critical, unlikely to survive. It was then that he realized how neglectful he had been toward his mother all this time. He sobbed uncontrollably, tears streaming down his face. He collapsed, kneeling beside his frail mother, and asked, "Mom, what can I do to make you happy now?" Holding her son's hand tightly, the mother advised, "Please install a fan in this nursing home, because it's very hot here. Also, buy a refrigerator and fill it with food, because there were many nights I had to go to sleep with an empty stomach." Hearing these words, the son was heartbroken. He asked his mother, astonished, "Mom, why did you endure these things for so long without telling me? What good is it now that you're saying these things?" The mother gently stroked her son's head. Although he was a grown man, he was still the little boy in her heart. In the past, when he was a child, she would affectionately stroke his head whenever he buried himself in her embrace. She answered her son, "I could endure the heat, the hunger, and the pain because I didn't want to bother you. But when you get old, and your children place you here, I worry that you won't be able to bear it." The mother's message to her son, "Please come and visit your mother," is a profound wake-up call to millions of children about the duty of caring for parents in old age. Filial piety is considered the foremost virtue in society. Parents brought us into this world and raised us. Never forget the boundless debt of gratitude. As children, while our parents are still with us, take the time to care for, nurture, and check on them. Don't be so busy chasing work and career that you become neglectful of your parents. Parents get older day by day, and the time will come when they must leave us. Don't let the moment of realization and regret be too late. Ultimately, life reminds us that true wealth lies not in our bank accounts, but in the relationships we cherish and the time we spend with our loved ones. Don't wait until tomorrow to settle these important accounts. If this message resonated with you, please give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It helps us bring more meaningful content like this to you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.